SASS stands for the Syntactically Awesome Style Sheet. It's a CSS precompiler that allows you to write codes or CSS codes that are similar to the regular programming languages like JavaScript, and it takes those codes and convert them into the regular CSS that you know. The regular CSS lacks a lot of structure and form. It lacks a lot of features, and a lot of features provided by the regular CSS are all scattered around. For example, the variables provided by the regular CSS. And referencing of files in the regular CSS or making relationship to other files has always been difficult. But with SASS, it does the heavy lifting for you. It structures your code using functions, mixins, nested attributes, variables that are properly defined, making life of writing CSS a little bit more balanced and actually making you have fun while writing CSS. So without wasting much time, let's get started. Welcome to Seed Media. Heading over to the official website of SASS, sas-lang.com, you're greeted with a very beautiful message that says Black Lives Matters. Yeah. So we head over to the install section, and there are a couple of GUI applications that you can actually use to get SASS running. If you're more of a click or drag and drop person, maybe you might find the GUI applications a little bit more fun than actually the NPM way of getting SASS running. And it says that a couple of these applications are actually free and a few of them are paid, but it's totally worth it. I don't know if you can get the free ones, I guess you work with it, but I actually work with the NPM section of it that's running SASS using command line. And we're going to head over back to our Visual Studio Code and get started. So we need to attach a package.json file, and we're going to run npm init-y. The y allows us to skip the regular questions you will be asked. We go ahead to run npm install node-sas to install the node SASS module. While the installation is currently ongoing, we head back to the package.json file and we make changes to the test script that is made available by default. We change the test name to SASS, and we actually impute the node-sas module that we want to run. We add a watch flag to it by using -w. That tells us that we want the SCSS folder to constantly be watched and output whatever we get or changes we make to the SCSS folder to a folder called dist/css, and we actually add a recursive flag. The -o represents the output, and whatever is going to be typed into the SCSS file is going to be outputted into the dist/css. We go ahead and create two more folders, the dist folder and the SCSS folder, and the CSS folder is going to be created when we actually run the script, or when we actually make changes to the SCSS file that's going to be stored within the SCSS folder. We also go ahead and create another file called style.scss, and this is where we're going to be entering all of our SCSS codes. And within the distributed folder, all changes we make to the style.scss will be saved or will be outputted to the dist/css folder. We go ahead and create our blank HTML folder and create a CSS link that's going to link to the style.css. And we head over back to our style.scss and make changes to it. We write npm run.sas to run this node-sas script. And we head back to our style.css and create a variable called primary and assign it a value of red, and go ahead and assign this variable to the body of the entire HTML document using the primary variable that's been assigned. You can see how variables are easily declared in SASS using the $sign, just like PHP. Run the HTML document in live server, and you can see that the variable color has been assigned to the body of the HTML document. Partials are declared using an underscore and the name of the partial.scss. We're going to declare a partial variable and move all our variables to the partial file. We import partials using the @import keyword, and there is no need to put the underscore when importing the partial, just the name, and no need to put the extension of .scss. We declare a div with a class of container that houses a h1 element and another h1 element outside the container class div. Let's change the background to secondary, make it gray, assign to the container class a background property of primary. Okay, there's an error. Okay, I have a mistyped bracket down there. SASS allows for nesting of elements within other elements or classes. For example, the div that has a class of container can have its h1 nested directly into it and given a different color from any other h1 that is assigned on the web page. And the color that is assigned to the h1 within the container class will not affect other h1s, and other h1s outside the container class will also not affect it as shown. Let's declare a href element and give it the text of please click me. Let's adjust our browser. In our style.css, we can easily reference pseudo properties of an element. For example, the hover property of the a tag by using an ampersand and the pseudo element that we plan to reference, and simply just assign whatever attributes or property that we want to assign, but while it's nested within the parent element. The ampersand represents the parent element type or name, and the hover pseudocode can easily be assigned to the ampersand to make it work. SASS allows for property inheritance that can be shared among a couple of other elements or attributes. And for example, we can declare the border design using the percentage sign to tell us that we want that declaration to be inherited by other elements that are around the website. And if we give the span with an ID of 1 to extend the border property, is going to inherit all the properties or declarations that within that border design. Regardless of the fact that we're inheriting one section of the border design, we can also overwrite it, as we've seen in the span, with an ID of 2 and giving it a padding of 2 separate from the regular padding of 10 that comes within the border design. So right now we're heading over to functions. We're going to create a partial called function.SASS, and this is going to hold our function code. So we head over to our index.html and create a div with an ID of color checker and give it a text. Head back to the style.SASS and import the function partial at the top and give our color checker a margin top of 20 pixels and give it a border of 2 pixels solid red, just to differentiate it from the other elements that are currently on the web page. We create a function called rem converter, and it expects to get this value of size. Basically, what this function is supposed to do is get the value or the size entered in pixel and convert it into rem. And we're going to take whatever size has been entered in pixel, divide it by 16 to get the rem equivalent value and send it back to the style.css page. The major difference between a function and a mixin is that a function returns a value or returns something, while a mixin is just a style that you want to include or import into a certain part of your style sheet. So we head back over to the style.SASS and give the font size the function of rem converter and pass a value of 32 to it. You can see that now on the browser the font size will actually change, and if we were to right click and view the inspect element section of the browser, we can see that the font size is actually represented by 2 rem. Next, we are creating a mixin within the function.SASS and we're giving it a name of transform. This example was pulled off directly from the SASS website. We head over back to our style.SASS and give the div with an ID of color checker a hover pseudo property and pass the mixin and assign a value of 30 degrees into it. We reference the mixin by using the @include keyword and give it a rotate property of 30 degrees. You can see that functions well. So I highly encourage that you check out the official documentation on the SASS-lang website. You're going to find more properties, more functions, more keywords, and you can actually work with. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to share with your friends. Your subscription goes a long way to encourage me to keep doing this video. See you at the next video.